Discover the incredible journey of a hidden gem, CEO's life-changing proposal after a joking blunder at the local diner. Sarah had always felt the weight of her family's legacy pressing down on her shoulders. Mama's kitchen wasn't just a diner, it was the heartbeat of the small town, serving warmth and hearty meals to everyone who walked through its doors. But now, at 34, as she watched her father's health deteriorate from the corner booth, she couldn't shake the feeling that the place was slipping through her fingers. The laughter and clattering of plates felt bitter as she flipped pancakes, her heart heavy with worry. The diner, once filled with the vibrant chatter of community, was now facing the grim reality of gentrification, as newcomers and corporate interests threatened to erase everything her mother built. In the midst of her struggles, the town's annual festival was unfolding outside like a scene from a vintage postcard. Bright banners fluttered, and children's laughter echoed. Sarah, taking a break, stepped outside, her heart swelling with nostalgia. Just as she turned to head back inside, she bumped into someone who had once been a shadow in her memory: Jake. The polished CEO with a confidence that felt foreign in her hometown. They exchanged pleasantries, but an ill-timed joke about the greasy burgers they both knew and loved suddenly hung awkwardly in the air. Laughter faded, and a surge of tension rippled between them. Jake's smile wavered, caught off guard by her passion for the diner, while Sarah sensed a disconnect between their worlds. That simple exchange ignited something deeper, emotions bubbling just beneath the surface, accessible yet terrifying. Sarah realized how fiercely she defended Mama's kitchen, her heart aching for what it meant to her community. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the town met that night in the old community center, Sarah felt her pulse quicken. The room buzzed with life, filled with townsfolk, seniors, families, newcomers debating Jake's proposal to revitalize the diner. Words spilled like coffee, some excitedly saw potential, while others feared they would lose their history, their soul. For every cheer, there was a discontented mumble echoing in the back. Sarah stood at the front, torn, gazing into the earnest eyes of the community she loved. The stakes were so personal, a chance to save Mama's kitchen could also mean compromising its heart. The thought was a tight knot in her chest. She caught Jake's eye across the room, and a silent understanding sparked. He too was wrestling with the expectations of progress in the relentless corporate world, seemingly detached yet driven by the hope of making a real difference. As the debate raged on, Sarah felt a tidal wave of uncertainty crash over her. What did modernization mean for a diner full of memories, laughter, and love? Was a partnership with someone like Jake worth risking everything she held dear? As she took a deep breath, the clock ticked relentlessly, counting down the moments until the town would vote, and she thought about the delicious aroma of Mama's kitchen, the laughter that filled its walls. Would saving the diner mean a sacrifice she couldn't bear? The future hung heavy, her heart racing between dreams of growth and memories of what her town had always stood for. As Sarah's heartbeat echoed loudly in her ears, she caught snippets of the passionate arguments swirling around her. A woman in the front row stood up, her voice shaking with emotion. "We can't let them change what makes this place special. My daughter learned to cook here." Another voice, confident and assertive, countered, "But we need new ideas. The diner isn't attracting the younger crowd anymore. We have to adapt." Each side felt the weight of generations resting on their shoulders, and Sarah knew they were right in their own ways. She glanced at Jake, who sat listening intently. There was a vulnerability in his posture that surprised her. The reality of the moment hit her. This was more than just a diner on the edge of change. This was about identity, hope, and the future of a community. Silence. The moderator called out. The room fell still, and all eyes turned to Sarah, the daughter of the diner's founder. Swallowing hard, she felt the pressure of 1,000 eyes on her. Any word she spoke could tip the scale. "Excuse me," her voice trembled at first, but steadied as she continued. "Mama's kitchen is where my family found love and laughter. It's where friends became family and where the community comes together. If we decide to take this path, it has to be one that honors our past. We can't just slap a fresh coat of paint on it and hope for the best." The room erupted in murmurs. She looked at their faces, hoping to see reassurance that this small diner meant something. "Change is hard. I get it. But let us not erase everything that came before us. What if we find a way to keep the diner's heart while also welcoming new ideas?" Jake's gaze bore into her, a flicker of something unknown dancing in his eyes. Was it admiration? Possibility? "Exactly," Jake interjected after a brief pause. "What if we build a structure that supports both? We can renovate, but the essence, the spirit of Mama's kitchen can remain unchanged." His words hung in the air, and Sarah felt a spark of hope flicker within her heart. Could it be possible to merge both worlds? But doubt crept in, whispering insidiously. How could she trust someone driven by profit? She had seen the devastation caused by progress in too many towns. What if Jake's promise was just an empty promise wrapped in a slick corporate bow? The tension in the room felt electric. A deep breath drew her focus back to the people around her. They were the true heart of the diner. It was their faces she saw in her mind when she flipped pancakes. Their laughter resonated in her ears as she put more coffee on. "Swinging this deal means we're all involved, employees, regulars, and neighbors alike," she urged, her voice stronger now. "If we move forward, let us make sure it's a journey we all take together." As the murmurs surged back into the air, everything felt suspended in time, the weight of their decision resting heavily. Sarah's heart raced, the stakes never feeling more real than they did in that moment. A vote loomed close, yet the tension felt necessary, a reminder of all that was at risk. "Will we collectively shape our future?" she asked, directing her question to both the crowd and to Jake. The silence was palpable, every person weighing the option laid before them. As the tension grew, she wondered what lay ahead. Would they find a way to blend the old with the new without sacrificing either? And as she glanced at Jake, their eyes locking for a fleeting moment, she felt a current of understanding. What if he was more than just a businessman? What if he held the key to redefine their history? The thought sparked a fresh wave of determination in her chest. Would she be willing to take the risk? The decision was coming fast, and she could feel the weight of it pressing down on her. Before she could second-guess herself, she took a step forward. Would she seize this moment or let it slip away? The future of Mama's kitchen and her town rested on her next words. Sarah felt every heartbeat with a clarity she had never known before. The burden of her family's legacy was as heavy as the old diner's wooden tables, worn and polished by years of laughter and tears. One quick glance at Jake revealed an unexpected softness in his demeanor. He, too, appeared to be feeling the gravity of the moment. The murmurs around the room intensified as anticipation hung thick in the air. Sarah steeled herself. "I believe we have the power to blend our history with innovation," she continued, sensing a small swell of support from the crowd. "What if we kept our community events? The cooking classes? We could infuse them with a modern twist, perhaps even offer online options. We can evolve without losing our soul." A few heads nodded, eyes lighting up at her suggestion. The critic in the front row, initially dead set against change, seemed contemplative, her brow furrowed but less tense. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way to mend the rift between tradition and progress. Jake leaned forward in his seat, an honest smile breaking across his face. "Exactly, Sarah. We don't want to eradicate the past, think of it as a collaboration." He adjusted his posture, switching from passive listener to active participant. "We can use technology to reach a wider audience while keeping the diner experience intact for our loyal customers. It's about creating an experience that honors the past while inviting new people in." His words spread through the room like wildfire, exchanging glances of curiosity and captured hope. "Would you all be willing to brainstorm ideas?" he asked, looking across the crowd. "Let us combine our visions and make the diner a hub for community and connection, not just a dining spot. Together, we can craft something that feels true to all of us." A younger voice piped up from the back. "What if we also included local vendors? A farm-to-table initiative could attract more customers and support local farmers." Lively discussions erupted, mixing the old with the new in a beautiful cacophony of ideas. As Sarah listened, she felt an exhilarating mix of pride and admiration. Their community was resilient, openly dreaming and creating a tapestry of possibilities. Every suggestion resonated like notes in a melody she couldn't help but dance to. But amidst the excitement, doubt lingered. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that transition also came with sacrifices. She soon realized those feelings were valid and important. "But what if we run into challenges?" she interjected gently. "What if the renovations change the essence of what this diner means to us?" Jake's smile softened again. "Every journey has bumps. All we need to do is stay together, lean on each other, and remind ourselves why this place matters. We can work through anything." He met her gaze, and she glimpsed an undeniable flicker of determination behind his calm confidence. Sarah swallowed hard. Could they really tackle this transformation without losing what was vital? Seeing her community come alive, she felt renewed energy surge through her. It was a force that asked questions, lit paths, and created opportunities. As the debate flowed with new fervor, Sarah smiled, realizing that their journey had just begun. She looked around, soaking in the enthusiasm. It was beautiful. Yet, as conversations grew wilder and hope blossomed, a nagging thought clawed at her. What if their dreams were too divergent? What if they couldn't navigate the changing landscape together? "All right, folks," the moderator finally called out, pulling everyone's focus back to the present. "It's time to decide. Are we ready to cast our votes?" Sarah's heart raced again, but this time it wasn't just fear. It was excitement, too. A rush of anticipation filled the room as each person prepared to make their choice. Could she really trust this new path? Would it lead to ruin or renewal? As hands began to rise, Sarah felt the weight of the moment settle around her like a promise. The outcome could change everything. But would she be able to fully embrace uncertainty? The room simmered with tension as a decision was about to be made. The future of Mama's kitchen hung in the balance. The room held its breath. One by one, hands began to rise, signaling the choices of the diners, the farmers, the teachers, and the families that had made this diner their second home. Sarah could see the faces around her adorned with hope and trepidation. Each vote felt not just like a simple gesture but a declaration of love for their shared history, and an uncertain embrace of the future. "Okay, let us count the votes," the moderator announced, her voice slicing through the stillness. Anxiety coiled in Sarah's stomach, tightening as though trying to crush any hope she had nurtured. Every face around the room flickered with emotions that mirrored her own: fear, excitement, and an overwhelming desire for connection. As the moderator counted, the room buzzed with low whispers. Sarah caught snippets of conversations. "If we only stick to what's comfortable," one voice lamented. "But it's about time we shook things up," another replied. The moderator paused, allowing the tension to thicken like the rich aromas from Mama's kitchen's famous apple pie. "We have the results," she exclaimed, and the small crowd collectively inhaled, preparing for the news that would redirect their paths. Sarah wiped her sweating palms on her jeans and glanced at Jake, whose eyes seemed locked on the moderator. He raised an encouraging eyebrow, a silent promise of support. The moderator took a breath, and everyone leaned in just a bit closer. The proposal to modernize the diner received an overwhelming majority. "It looks like hope and effort will pave the way for our beloved Mama's kitchen." Cheers erupted around the room, a symphony of clapping and shouts of joy. Sarah's heart fluttered with unexpected relief and happiness as a wave of shared elation washed over her. She jumped, nearly laughing at the exuberance around her. Yet, she couldn't ignore the small shadows of doubt at the edges of her mind. Would this euphoria last? As congratulations flew from person to person, voices melded into a comforting murmur, creating a blanket of warmth that wrapped around her. Sarah took a moment to step back, absorbing the collective energy that filled the space. This, she thought, was exactly what her family's diner had been meant to do: bring people together. Where there had been division, there was now connection. But beneath the layers of joy, she sensed unease brewing. Change was a stormy sea, full of turbulence and unexpected waves. "We can't lose sight of what matters," she whispered to herself, almost as if afraid someone might hear her wavering faith. Just as she was lost in her thoughts, Jake approached, a playful grin on his face. "You know, after all this excitement, we might need a bit of that old-fashioned apple pie to celebrate." His lightheartedness drew a smile from the depths of her concern. "Yeah, we definitely will," she agreed, but then her brow furrowed. "But what do we do when challenges arise? When not everyone is on board?" Jake considered this, his smile fading slightly. "We'll face it together. That's where the real work begins. Keeping each other grounded as we build our dreams." Before she could respond, the crowd surged, gathering around them, their joy contagious, pulling her back from the edge of worry. But still, the unspoken question loomed in her heart. In the pursuit of creating something new, how would they preserve that unique essence that had been Mama's kitchen for generations? "Let's kick off our first brainstorming session next week," the moderator called, buzzing with excitement. "And perhaps we could invite local farmers to the table." As clapping erupted once more, Sarah's thoughts raced. This was no longer just a proposal. It was the start of something immense, perhaps terrifying. A chance for renewal, but also a risk that held immense stakes, and despite the joy swirling around her, an unsettling sense of the unknown loomed like a thundercloud. Would their commitment withstand the inevitable storms? It was a fresh beginning, but also a crucial test of her resolve and the community's unity. With one last look around the room, took a deep breath, Sarah realized she had an entire community standing beside her. But would that be enough when the tides of change began to stir? Her heart echoed with the weight of what lay ahead, questions swirling like autumn leaves in a brisk wind. The days following the meeting flew by in a blur of excitement and anxiety. Sarah dedicated herself to prepping for the upcoming brainstorming session. Taping colorful posters around Mama's kitchen, she jotted down ideas that buzzed around her mind, each bright stroke of ink a snapshot of possible futures. Jake was her right hand, hanging streamers, gathering supplies, and fabricating flyers. They were a whirlwind team, weaving energy and hope into the fabric of their plans. But there was still that quiet fear tickling at the back of Sarah's mind. What if this all fell apart? As they sat together, piling empty coffee cups and scraps of paper surrounding them, Sarah paused, looking over at Jake. "Do you think everyone is really ready for this?" Jake leaned back in his chair, taking a moment. "Change is scary. But you know, anything worth having usually is." He grinned, though there was a hint of doubt in his eyes. "What if the farmers don't agree with our ideas? Or what if the old-timers in town think we're straying too far from Mama's?" Her voice shook slightly as she spoke, reflecting her inner turmoil. "Then we invite them into the conversation," he replied firmly. "We have to create a space where everyone feels valued. It's not just about us, it's about the whole community." His words hung in the air, merging with the smell of coffee and nostalgia that permeated the diner. A warmth spread in her chest, yet uncertainty lingered. How could they ensure that everyone felt they had a voice? The night before the brainstorming session arrived, and the diner was filled with a sense of urgency. Sarah propped her feet up on the worn-looking counter, the familiar creaks and grooves embodying generations of laughter and tears shared within these walls. She allowed herself a moment to breathe, looking around at the cozy diner that had always felt like home. "What's on your mind?" Jake asked, noticing the change in her expression. I just wish Mama could see this, Sarah sighed, her heart ached at the thought of her grandmother. What would she think about all of this? She'd be proud, Jake said, his voice gentle but sure. We're doing this for her legacy. For all those family meals and warm smiles. She's a part of us, Sarah. Always will be. Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes as she nodded, comforted by his words. They were approaching a crossroads that could redefine their family history. Could they genuinely honor what had been, while boldly reaching for what might be? Morning arrived with a golden sun spilling through the diner windows, illuminating faces filled with curiosity and excitement. A diverse group gathered around tables, sharing ideas over coffee and warm pastries. Sarah glanced around. Each person in the room was the heart of Mama's kitchen. The meeting began with laughter and chatter, but as ideas flowed, so did the gravity of the situation. A few voices rose in disagreement over the proposal to feature local artists and live music. Live music could cheapen the atmosphere, one of the older farmers grumbled, his brow furrowed. But it'll bring people together. Someone else countered. This space could be a hub, not just a diner. As the room began to hum with conflict, Sarah's heart raced. This was what they had prepared for, yet it felt like the ground beneath her was quaking. Let us hear each other out, Sarah interjected, holding up her hands for attention. This is about building a future that honors our history. Everyone's voice matters. She could feel the tension, the unformed ideas and fears spilling out into the open. But she also felt hope surfacing through the chaos. Slowly, the murmurs quieted, faces turned toward her. As she drew a breath, ready to steer the conversation, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What if their dreams didn't line up with reality? What if they couldn't bridge the gap between the past and the future? The stakes felt higher than ever. Let us keep talking, she said, her voice steady, because together, we can face anything. But as they resumed their discussions, Sarah couldn't shake the anxiety clenching her heart. How deep would their commitment run when the tides turned against them? The true test of unity was yet to come. Would they rise together, or would the struggles of old weigh them down? The answer danced just beyond her reach, waiting for the next phrase, the next voice to break through and guide them all. The debate swirled around the room, voices tangling like strings of an old guitar. It was a mix of anger, passion, and fear. Sarah felt each pulse in the air, an electric hum that mirrored her own racing heart. She watched the faces of friends and neighbors, each person a part of the community tapestry that Mama had woven. The argument over music was just a surface layer peeling back, revealing deeper concerns. Maybe we should prioritize a traditional menu over entertainment, suggested a woman in a faded apron, her hands resting on her hips. If we lose our focus, what happens to Mama's kitchen? But that's exactly the point. A younger man chimed in, his voice breaking the tension. We're not trying to erase our history. We want to breathe new life into it. Live music isn't an enemy, it's a way to connect. Sarah felt the room tilt as sidelong glances shot across the tables. Old sentiments clashed with fresh ideas, and she knew it was pivotal to steer this ship. What if, she began slowly, raising her voice over the rising waves, we create a schedule. Live music only on select nights, classics on Fridays and art shows on Saturdays. This way, we honor both our traditions and the new. The suggestion hung in the air, and a few heads nodded cautiously. She could feel the fragile hope weaving back in, but the overall mood still felt fractious. We can still showcase our local artists. Maybe even invite the farmers to share their stories, Jake added, his support grounding her resolve. Let us put up a bulletin board where everyone can post their ideas and vote on what they want to see. You think that'll work? The older farmer's voice was still skeptical, but there was a crack in the armor. It's about giving everyone a stake in this, Sarah replied, her heart pounding. If each of us feels included, we can make sure that the soul of Mama's kitchen stays alive. As people exchanged glances, uncertainty mixed with curiosity. The idea of collaboration began to shift perceptions. What if this space not only held memories but also became a canvas for their future? I like that, someone piped up, a smile brightening their face. It could be like a family reunion every weekend. Yes. Another joined in, and slowly, voices started rising together, weaving a collective vision. Yet, even amidst the growing enthusiasm, Sarah's heart still trembled. Would these patchwork solutions hold? Was it enough to satisfy both the old guards and the new dreamers? She needed to focus, not just on practicalities, but on the emotional core that bound them all community. Let us plan to keep meeting, Sarah encouraged, feeling the momentum shift. Ideas can evolve, and we can refine this together. Let us give ourselves a timeline and revisit these topics in a week. This doesn't have to be a one-time discussion. Cheerful chatter began to fill the diner. Laughter wove through the air like the smell of fresh coffee, sparking a sense of camaraderie. Jake caught her eye and grinned, a shared relief sparking between them. For a moment, she allowed herself to breathe, but as conversations unfolded, she noticed one person seated at the back, arms crossed tightly. An older gentleman with a wariness that settled like fog in the room. What about traditions that should never change? He croaked, cutting through the rising sounds. What if we're not ready for this? What if your bold ideas end up losing what matters most? The optimism in the room dipped. A tight pang gripped Sarah's chest. Here came the reality that could break them. Could they really face this challenge together? Would they be able to navigate this storm of conflict without driving a wedge between them? Uncertainty loomed like a shadow, making her question everything. And as she prepared to respond to the man's concern, she felt the stakes heighten once more. What would it take to bridge this divide? And would their passion for change be enough to keep Mama's kitchen alive through it all? Sarah felt her breath hitch, knowing they were now standing on the edge of something monumental. It was time to peel back another layer. But could she find the right words to unite them, or would the cracks deepen? Sarah took a steadying breath, feeling the weight of the moment pulling her down. This man's fear was palpable, each word a stone lobbed into the delicate waters of hope they'd started to stir. I understand your concerns, she replied, her voice gaining strength. But traditions can evolve. They don't have to vanish. We can celebrate them while embracing new ideas. It's not about change for the sake of change, it's about growth. The older gentleman's gaze softened slightly, and she could see flickers of doubt crossing his expression. Perhaps he was just waiting for someone to understand where he was coming from. But what if people don't show up anymore? What if the music drowns out the memories we cherish? He countered, his expression still guarded. Memories don't disappear just because new things come in, Jake interjected, his willingness to support her sharpening Sarah's resolve. My granddaddy used to say that if you open a door, it lets in more than just the wind. It brings light, new perspectives, new opportunities. If we keep the heart of Mama's kitchen with your recipes, the stories of our ancestors alive, we won't lose anything. The gentleman's shoulders loosened just a fraction. Sarah noticed other faces in the crowd, the hesitant, but curious glances exchanged between neighbors. They were torn, caught between fear and the allure of new possibilities. If she could just tip the balance, spark a bit of faith, she could stitch this community back together. We've all come here because we care, Sarah continued. This place is more than brick and mortar, it's where we've shared laughter, meals, and memories. Those won't fade just because we welcome a weekend singer or an artist. Let us use this as an opportunity to deepen our connections with each other and with our heritage. A murmur rose, building around her. Words like family, legacy, and belonging floated through the room, knitting the threads of the past with those of the future. It was exhilarating, like riding a wave that could lift them all. The man leaned forward, still skeptical, but his arms began to uncross slowly. You think this will really bring us together? Sarah nodded firmly. I believe it can. Let us give it a fair shot. If we start with small steps, we can find a balance that satisfies everyone. Imagine what it would feel like to celebrate our past and make room for the future, together. A spark lit in the crowd, a whisper of hope that flew from face to face. Sarah could sense the shift, but it still felt fragile. There was still the chance that someone would speak up and reignite the flame of opposition. The older gentleman paused, and with a weighty sigh, nodded slowly. "All right then. I won't oppose it." But he hesitated, a slight challenge in his tone. "You'll have to show me that it won't ruin what we've built here." Sarah felt her heart race. This was more than a concession, it was a bridge to build on, a chance to unite their vision. "We will," she promised, the sincerity in her voice ringing clear. A wave of applause erupted from around the diner, people rising to their feet in support. Laughter and voices filled the air, creating a melody of excitement. She glanced at Jake, who wore a proud smile, but the thrill of success was mixed with a new concern. Could they maintain this momentum? Suddenly, a voice called from the back again, cutting through the cheer. It belonged to Alice, a mother who had seen hard times. "What if you fail? What if it changes everything and no one is happy anymore?" The room stilled, uncertainty wrapping around them once more. Sarah's heart hitched. Was she prepared to face the possibility of failure? The worry on Alice's face reflected a truth they all felt deep down. They had come together, but would it be enough to stitch up the cracks? The struggle for Mama's kitchen had just begun, and with it came the real test of their strength. Could they weather the storm and emerge as the community they hoped to be? Deep within, Sarah felt a flicker of determination. "Let us explore these fears together," she proposed decisively. "Let us keep this conversation open and see where it takes us." As they began to discuss a way forward, she felt the excitement level off into a palpable tension. Could they really face their doubts and build a future that honored their traditions? Only time would tell what lay ahead. How long could this fragile hope hold together? Alice's voice hung in the air like a cloud, heavy and dark. Sarah felt it press down on her chest. The atmosphere had shifted, but she didn't want the conversation to crumble under the weight of doubt. "Alice, I completely understand your fear," Sarah started, her tone softening. "Change can be scary. It's like stepping onto a new road while the old one seems so familiar." She glanced around the room, searching for the eyes of those who might share Alice's concerns. "But we're a community. Communities are built on trust. And trust means being open about what frightens us." Jake shifted beside her, a mix of encouragement and concern etched across his face. "Listen, we've all been there. Whether it's small steps or big leaps, let's talk through what might go wrong and how we can tackle it together." He looked right at Alice. "What specifically worries you? Let us make sure we address it. Your voice matters." Alice hesitated, moving her hands uneasily. "I guess what if we lose the sense of home? I want my kids to understand the love that came from this place. Music and art seem frivolous compared to the meals and stories we share." "Nobody is saying you have to lose that," Jake said promptly. "We won't replace your memories. Instead, let us add to them. If we do this right, we can create a space where your kids can sit down to delicious food and then enjoy art and music." The crowd was listening, some nodding in tentative agreement. The simple idea of joy was coiling back into the room like a ribbon, ready to knot itself around hope. Sarah seized the moment. "What if every weekend, we have an art showcase or a small concert, but also keep the tradition of family dinners? We could have the recipes from those who've been around the longest, the beloved dishes that have stood the test of time. It's not replacing, it's enriching." She could see the wheels turning in the minds of those who surrounded her. Doubt still lingered, but it was now battling against the potential of new experiences. "Sometimes these small changes can help our stories shine brighter," Sarah continued, her passion ringing clear. "Let them resonate with the next generation, showing them that tradition holds room for innovation. We want them to feel the warmth of Mama's kitchen while celebrating all the beautiful things life has to offer." The older gentleman from before stood up, looking around in contemplation. I'm still hesitant, but I see what you mean. His expression had softened further. Maybe it is about expanding our definition of what home is. A ripple of agreement spread through the room, carried by hopeful nods and small smiles. Sarah felt a smile tug at her lips. Perhaps this shift was possible. Perhaps they were ready to embrace both the past and the future. But just as the atmosphere began to lighten, a young voice piped up from the corner, the teenage daughter of Alice. What if no one comes? What if no one likes it? The words hit hard, like an unexpected punch. Wall after wall began to shake. All Sarah's carefully constructed optimism felt fragile now, teetering on the brink. She took a breath. What if we built it together? What if we brought in young ones from the community to help promote it? They know how to reach out and connect in ways we might not understand. Realizing the road ahead was far from smooth, Sarah steeled herself for the questions that lay ahead. Would they be ready to delve deeper? Would they take the risk to shape collective fears into a joint vision? The challenge was far from over, and she sensed the tension lingering in the air. Yet, there was something deeper stirring too, a hope that still glimmered, however faint. As they continued discussing possibilities and challenges, Sarah felt a swell of uncertainty mixed with excitement. How would they confront the unresolved fears of a community? What new paths would they carve out? For now, those answers remained just out of reach, and Sarah knew they were about to embark on a journey that could redefine everything they held dear. Would they have the courage to face the unknown together? The room buzzed with low murmurs, the air thick with uncertainty. Sarah looked around, noticing the concerned expressions weighing down the faces of her neighbors. She sensed that the fears stirred by Alice's daughter had struck a nerve deeper than they all expected. This wasn't just about art and music, it was about the essence of who they were as a community. Okay, let us hear more thoughts, Jake encouraged, looking hopeful that voices would rise to fill the silence. This isn't just about whether people will like it. What matters is how it makes us feel, and how we can grow together. A woman from the back, her hair pulled tightly back, spoke up. I know we've always had a strong tradition, but maybe some change could be good. If we don't try, how will we know? My children are always looking for new experiences, and I want them to be proud of where they come from. Sarah felt a wave wash over her. This was it. They were beginning to peel back layers of fear, revealing glimmers of hope. Yes. That's the spirit. Sarah beamed. Let us infuse creativity into our traditions. What if we let kids showcase their art during our dinner nights? It could become tradition, a way to bridge generations. A few heads nodded, and Sarah's heart raced with each flicker of agreement. Just then, an elderly man stood up, using a cane for support. I remember when this place was filled with laughter, dance, and music. We've let life's stressors take away what made us well, us. He paused, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. Maybe it's time to reclaim that joy. What if we could bring back the festivals we once had? Our community events used to be magic. The idea hung in the air like a firework ready to spark. Sarah couldn't help but feel excited. With a festival, they could bring everyone together, old traditions mixed with new experiences. It could be a coming together of stories told through songs, art, food, and laughter. Imagine this. Sarah leaned in, her voice bursting with enthusiasm. We could have art displays during the day, and in the evening, local bands playing the kinds of music we sang to during homecomings. Families could come together, mixing the past with the present. Will it really work, though? Alice's daughter's voice, though small, echoed again, cutting through the vibrations of hope. What if it's just awkward? Sarah's optimism was momentarily shaken, but she took a deep breath. It will take everyone, and yes, it could be awkward at first. But think about the first steps we take when learning something new. It's all part of the journey. When we step out of our comfort zones, we open up to new possibilities. A rustling came from the back as more voices started to chime in. Let us give it a try, someone called out. We can't lose what we have, but we can certainly build on it. With every statement, the atmosphere shifted. It felt like a jigsaw puzzle coming together, piece by piece. But deep down, Sarah felt the tiny voice of uncertainty flickering like a candle. What if the excitement faded away, leaving them with empty chairs and quiet halls? Just as she gathered her thoughts to address these doubts, Alice spoke. I think we need to create spaces where both the artwork and our stories combine. If we decorate with the colors of where we've been, it might provide comfort and ease. It's about being brave enough to mix the old with the new but not throwing away what matters. Yes. Exactly. Sarah exclaimed, invigorated by Alice's words. With newfound momentum, ideas bounced around the room, each one more vibrant than the last. They brainstormed food themes, art competitions, and shared history sessions. Laughter and hope began to trickle in together, nourishing the seeds of transformation taking root, but as the meeting began to wind down, Sarah felt a nagging thought sneak into her mind. Could they truly find the strength within their community to celebrate the past and look forward to the future? What if this was only the beginning? She took a moment to steady her breath, ready to pose the next challenge, one that could make or break their newly stirred intentions. As she looked around at the hopeful faces, she prepared to ask them something crucial. Are we all in, truly in, for this journey together? Little did she know, that one question would reveal more than any of them had anticipated. As Sarah stood in the heart of Mama's kitchen, the freshly painted walls echoing the laughter and warmth of the community surrounding her, she felt a spark ignite within. The brainstorming session had unfolded like an unexpected symphony, each idea blending seamlessly to create a future as colorful as the murals they envisioned hanging on the walls. Yet, as she prepared to ask the question that would solidify their commitment, she also sensed the doubt still lingering like a fog. Are we all in, truly in, for this journey together? She finally asked, her voice firm yet inviting. Silence enveloped the diner, each person processing the weight of her words. The tension simmered, and she could see the flickering eyes of both excitement and skepticism, the delicate balance they were trying to strike. Then, one by one, hands began to rise. At first hesitant, but soon a wave of enthusiasm flowed through the diner. Nods, smiles, and murmurs of agreement began to build into a chorus of support. Yes. Let us do it. Came a shout from a familiar face, and laughter followed. The room buzzed with energy, each person engaged and animated, faces lit by the glow of shared hope. And just like that, their collective resolve began to solidify. They weren't just committed to reviving Mama's kitchen, they were igniting a movement based on unity and dreams. Sarah's heart swelled. This was no longer about saving a diner, it was about reclaiming their identity. It was about weaving the past, present, and the future into a tapestry of memories, laughter, and love. And standing alongside Jake, she felt a swell of gratitude towards him for being a catalyst in their transformation. Had he known he would play such a pivotal role in this journey? Days turned into weeks as they pushed forward, the community rallying together to brainstorm innovative ideas and plans. The festival came alive in their conversations, morphing into something vibrant and inclusive. The idea of sharing stories through art, music, and food had transcended the ordinary, evolving into a celebration of everything that defined Mama's kitchen. Finally, the day of the festival arrived, blanketed in a golden warmth that felt like a promise. As colorful banners danced in the breeze, Sarah stood atop a makeshift stage, taking it all in. Laughter, live music, and the delicious aromas of home-cooked meals mixed together in the air, creating an intoxicating atmosphere. The community had come together, blooming like fresh flowers after a long winter. Welcome everyone. She called out, her voice ringing clear over the joyful hum of the crowd. Today, we celebrate not just Mama's kitchen, but the spirit of our community. Let us honor our past while stepping boldly into our future. The crowd erupted in cheers, joy spilling forth like an overflowing cup of hot coffee. In that moment, Sarah felt the years of uncertainty lift. She locked eyes with Jake, who was standing beside her, a proud smile gracing his lips. They shared a nod, understanding everything that had been said and unsaid, the journey they had taken, the fears they conquered, and the community they had fostered together. Facing the crowd, she gestured toward the vibrant festival. Together, we have created something beautiful. As she watched children darting happily between their parents and friends sharing meals, Sarah knew that Mama's kitchen had been reborn. The heart and soul of the diner remained intact, intertwined with fresh dreams and voices of all generations. Mama's legacy had not only endured but had been enriched in ways beyond her wildest dreams. In the end, it wasn't just about saving a diner, it was about fostering love and connection, about celebrating life through shared meals, laughter, and storytelling. It was a win for every heart in the room, for every family, every friendship that had flourished amid the clinking of forks and the warmth of smiles, and in that beautiful chaos, Sarah realized that they had navigated their fears and woven a future filled with promise, together. She took a deep breath, feeling a wave of accomplished peace wash over her. Here's to Mama's kitchen. May it always be the heart of our community. The crowd erupted into applause, and tears of joy brimmed in Sarah's eyes as she embraced the very essence of what they had built together. This was their moment. This was their legacy. And just like that, the journey was far from over. It had only just begun. Now, don't wait another second. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss out on the next exclusive stories that will inspire and transform you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because your support makes all the difference. Comment below with your feelings about this incredible ending. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this beautiful transformation. Show the world that you believe in community, love, and change.